Being unbreakable. The 4 pages on my wall I will refer to as the Heru Scrolls. I've actually numbered the sentences on Heru Scroll 1 and Heru Scroll 5. So it's similar like the Bible. For example, in Heru 5:1, it says that a gang stalker's opinion is worth less than a flea's. So these scrolls are as sacred to me, or these scriptures rather, as the Bible is, except for quotes of Jesus talking, because God inspired me to write these things. However, I do not expect them to be as sacred to other people as they are to me. These are the Heru Scrolls. I'll never sell out. I'll never settle for any woman that is not a 9 or a 10. I'll never let anyone else convince me to take my videos down or take down my videos. I'll keep the last oath of the no sex, no romantic relationships, and more. I'll never give up the revolution. Heru Scroll 1:6. I'll never pretend that I am not the top martial artist, because I am the best, and no one has ever done what I have accomplished. That right there is the first page of what I call the Heru Scrolls, also known as the Horus Scrolls or Horus Scriptures. These are codes of behavior. These are principles I live by, and I follow these codes more carefully than I do the rules in the Bible. It's how serious I am about these things. And even when I'm insulting other people, it is deeply reflecting my beliefs and what I'm going to do. A lot of people don't like these things. Because of the gang stalking, and you have to think now, think deeply, I logically came to the conclusion that from my Christian perspective, they have taken a great man and made him greater. And when you couple that with my top martial artist challenge, they have taken a great, great man and made him an immortal, so to speak, as far as a title of respect, not meaning that I can't die. Of course I can die. My soul is immortal, however. Remember Matthew 5:10. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I actually believe this with all of my heart. And because they persecuted me, it really made me respect myself so much more. And that is why it is so important for people to be Christians, especially if they're anti-government or they're a quote-unquote revolutionary. I've already proven definitively that because of the philosophies, the mainstream philosophies that are propagated by the New World Order, Christians are pretty much the only real revolutionaries out there when you're looking at a major movement. Real Christians, real Muslims, because everything else it comes straight from the elite, and nobody would dare venture to say that Christianity comes from the elite. That's a joke, because before the Council of Nicaea, the scriptures existed. Some of them have been dated back, to a few decades from the birth of Christ. So these things go way back, and they were being spread by the people while the people were persecuted by the elite. So when you look at the foundations of Christianity, it is a grassroots movement, so to speak, led by religious people who were persecuted by the elite. When you look at, communism or feminism, these things come straight from the elite. Famous poets, Abigail Adams, the ultra rich, communism comes straight from the think tanks of the elite. Marx, Engels, and they looked up to Hegel, straight from the think tanks of the elite. These are not movements of the people. And my enemies, their philosophies come straight from the elite. And it's rather unfortunate. So it is very important for people to understand the scrolls of Heru. So while I was making the scrolls, and ever since late 2011 at least, I have been persecuted and threatened by the enemies of Christians and God. This is very similar to Jesus, as well as I've made a kind of saying. Some people might say a mantra, but no, this has nothing to do with Eastern philosophy. This is something that I say that has been divinely inspired. It's divinely inspired. I'm supposed to say it 2 times every morning to help counter the repetitive messages that I get from the trolls and the people they plant in my life, and it's very obvious. They'll say it in a way that, is very obviously a repetitive message that sticks out. For example, they'll bring up the same random person like David Bowie or some random person that other people bring up around the same time as saying something, as saying, you need meds, you're a weirdo like David Bowie. That's not something they've actually said, but that's an example. And then another person will come along and say, oh, you're a weirdo like David Bowie, even though there's nothing in my videos that would make you say that. Something that sticks out like that. And they're repetitive messages. And I don't want to say what they actually say because that feeds into the repetition. So I say, this is what I'm supposed to say 2 times. This is Heru Scroll number 2. I am a Christian that refuses to sell out, settle, break my oath, or pretend that I am not the top martial artist. No matter what happens, I need to secure my rightful position as the top martial artist to defeat the satanic Freemasons that think they understand God. These cowards believe that evil should reign with moral relativism. On the bottom I put, say 2 times every morning out loud to help counter the repetitive messages on the internet from the opposition view that they post on my videos. I get a lot of trolls. That's why in the last year or so, I've been forced to switch to approved messages. It's rather unfortunate. You see how their controlled opposition views not only are meant to stifle dissent, control dissenters, control negative sentiments against the government, but they also have been used to do little things like make people like me switch their comments to approved only, which slows down the process of communication and so on because of their complexes. You have to understand the power of a righteous man of God doing something in the name of God and saying it to himself and to God. And that's why I do it. Buddhists and Hindus, they don't believe in God. Okay, they might have deities and Buddhas and Shiva and these people. They're not God. They're not one God. So it's not the same. And I say it, to also piss them off because they believe that if you think something, it helps make it come true if you think it's true. I don't believe that myself, but I do know that this pisses them off. And I return the favor. They're trying to make me frustrated and throw me off. I make them frustrated, and I've gotten a lot from it. They've made a lot of mistakes in their anger and their desperation to try to play me out. Almost every single thing that they've ever done that they thought was a good idea, every major thing, it has blown up in their face. And every little thing has fed into my righteous indignation. So the Heru scroll number 3 is basically saying that women have betrayed me. No one knows why I'm mad and has the heart to do anything about it. Basically, no matter how long people have been studying me, they don't understand me. It's the bottom line. People who know me, they're, since I was a baby, they don't understand me. They kind of, somewhat, see a little bit of where I'm coming from. But I keep my beliefs very much to myself. And I'm so secretive that I don't even think my secrets most of the time. Not because I believe in telepathy or anything like that, but I do believe that you have a certain ability to see what somebody is seeing. Not read their mind, see what someone is thinking. Not read their mind per se, I don't know if they can or not, but I go that extra distance. I don't even practice my martial arts in the shower, the ones that I mean to keep secret. So there's some secrets that I don't think, I don't practice, I maintain them in my soul, and I don't expect anyone to understand that for the same reason I don't expect anyone to understand me. And I know the difference is they might understand that, but they will never understand me. I also put no female is good enough for me. They sometimes have a pretty face or a nice body, but they are all lesser sex, bad judgment having God-forsaken Babylonian harlots. I would rather kill them than sell out for any of them. This is key. This is actually what I believe. And it's a hard pill for females to swallow. Everything here is what I believe. I believe that when I say that there's degrees of it. I don't really have time to explain all this, but there's degrees. Not every female is as evil as the other ones, but they're all influenced by Babylonian thought. And they all are lesser sex. Now, it might sound harsh, but there is an order where man is above woman. I firmly believe that. It's a natural thing. In an artificial system, people can be led to the misconception that we are equal, but naturally, man exerted his superiority and dominance. That's why man is stronger, typically. That's why he tends to be taller. He's meant to dominate the lesser sex and subjugate them. Men aren't necessarily meant to subjugate each other. That's really up for debate. But what isn't up for debate and is painfully obvious is naturally women are meant to help men. They're meant to bear children. They're meant to be part of the family structure. Think of it like a chain of command or something, where men are the commander-in-chief and there's some lesser officer, and then at the bottom are the troops, the children. It's one way to look at it. So when I see them trying to usurp men's power together as a group, this is basically me saying the rule, the general rule. They are all lesser sex, bad judgment having, God-forsaken Babylonian harlots. You have to understand that these words came inspired by God. God didn't inspire me to say every single word, but the righteous indignation from seeing how the modern woman is inspired me to say it, to write it. And if I recall correctly, I was saying it as I was typing it. And so I go as far as to say I would rather kill them than sell out for any of them. And on the Heru Scroll 4, I actually put 1 Peter 5. And I've highlighted, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Resist him. Stand firm in the faith, because you know that the family of believers throughout the world is undergoing the same kind of sufferings. Going back to the third scroll, You know, some people have crackheads in their family. Some people have prostitutes in their family. Some people have serial killers in their family. So just because we're all a family doesn't mean that some of us aren't doing the wrong thing. You know, there's degrees. It's not my job to judge whether or not a woman is going to go to heaven, or, you know, to say, you know, this person is a sinner who's never going to repent. However, if they present themselves as unrepentant sinners, if they say they're a lesbian, for instance, if they say they're a pagan, they're an atheist, that is an unrepentant sinner. I'm not judging them. They are declaring themselves as being on the devil's side. There's a difference between that and a woman who sees herself as a Christian who has problems that she's struggling with. Then I cannot say to that person, say, you know what, you know, you actually don't believe. And she'll be like, well, I do believe. I just, you know, you don't understand. Then it's a matter of judgment. Well, you're right. I can't really judge you because I don't really know what's going on with you. That's even worse than a psychiatrist trying to judge your mental health or something, right? Except for a psychiatrist might be worse because they drug. If you don't consider the drugging aspect, it's worse than what a psychiatrist is doing or what they do in general. So when you consider that America is the new Babylon, it's influencing the world, people are changing their culture to be more in tune and in line with American expectations and cultures, you have to then come to the conclusion that because women are the more conformist sex, because they're rolling with it in record numbers, that yes, they are God-forsaken Babylonian harlots. They are the lesser sex. And I've put it like this on purpose because feminists, gays, a lot of anti-Christians, they take such offense to this, and I'm not going to beat around the bush on this matter. I'm not going to say, well, it's offensive. No, I'm going to declare the truth. You know, you don't like it? Well, too bad. You know, here, I'll send you some fucking tissues if it'll make you feel better. Until enough people have demanded tissues from me that, you know, or asked for them, that it's starting to get expensive. Anyway, yeah, they are lesser sex, bad judgment having, God-forsaken Babylonian harlots. Now ask yourself, why am I in my mid-30s, you know, after 7 years of doing God's work on YouTube alone? 7, you know, I've been doing it long before that. I've been a man of God for a long, long time. And almost every time I find a woman, you know, my ex-fiance, for example, was from Greece. You know, females I've been talking to not too long ago, you know, Ethiopia, Greece, Canada, they've been from other places, other countries. Why is that? Because this is Babylon. And the more other countries accept and want to come here, more people from other countries want to come here, the more they are Babylonian harlots. So this is a timeless scroll. This scroll is not made for yesterday or today. It's forever. And we see that this trend is growing. So 100 years from now, especially, this scroll will be absolutely on the money. You know, they'll be like, yeah, he's right. And he wasn't even living in our time. You know, imagine what he would think. You know, people 100 years from now, if they come across Heru Scroll 3, Heru 3, you know, they'll say, imagine if he was living today. He was 100% right. He was ahead of his time. He was so much smarter than the women of his time, and that's why they didn't like him. He was wise. They weren't. The passion of other men pales in comparison. For those of you in the future, I want you to ask yourselves, how did he know about females? I want you to come to the correct answer. I knew for many reasons. One of the biggest reasons was I've talked to tens of thousands of women. I even did a study that had thousands of women, you know, over 2 years. All of them living within 100 miles of me. I knew that if a man as passionate, as righteous, who dedicated a large portion of his life to searching for love, was treated the way I am, the way I have been, that it shows you that things are getting worse and not better. Good men who are passionate, handsome, great mind, body, and soul should not be shunned in favor of wicked men. Monetary gain should not be the reason. Conformity to Babylon should not be the reason. There is no excuse. Even if a woman is in the government and it's her job to try to conform me, she has no excuse. Right is right, no matter what your job is. Wrong is wrong, no matter what your job is. They may as well be Judas trying to make an excuse. Remember what Judas was mad about? Think about it. Judas was thinking about money. Whether you slice it as him being upset about Jesus spending money on oil, not selling the oil that was used for his hair, or whether it was the pieces of silver that he sold Jesus out for, money was on his mind. For a Christian, for a woman to do the wrong thing in any aspect of her life is disgusting. But for her to do the wrong thing in matters of creation, God is the creator, for her to breed, for her to marry, for her to date and have sex with men who are bad is very disgusting. And let's go through a third level. For her to use money as an excuse to betray God in favor of her desire to conform to Babylonian and demonic expectations. Now that is unforgivable. That is Judas to a T. And I refuse to think even for one moment that the sex that follows the path of Judas is equal to the one that does not. It is always going to be more righteous for one to desire natural beauty than for someone to desire the path of Judas. Get it right. That's why you see gold digger on my wall. You don't see, oh, guy, he likes her beauty. Beauty is something superficial. Excuse me? When Jesus cured the blind, were they like, oh, it's no big deal because seeing God's beautiful world is some superficial bitch shit anyway? No. They were grateful because beauty is a lot more important than you might think, you sniveling harlots. Anyway, going to Horus Scroll 5. 5.1. A gang stalker's opinion means less than a flea's. This is key. Now listen carefully. If a gang stalker were to play the good cop, bad cop game in society, and you were to fall for it, how stupid would you be? So therefore, one can never assume that a gang stalker, especially if they are active, is trustworthy. That is insanity. That is madness. Would you trust one of the demons of hell if they said, you know what, I'm on your side. I know how you feel. Or would you say, you know what, you're a fucking demon. Excuse me if I'll never trust you and I'll never take your advice. Only thing I'll consider is why you're giving me this advice, but I'm never gonna fucking trust you. That's why a gang stalker's opinion is worth less than a flea's. No matter what. 5.2. I have done what no other martial artist ever has, and I have done it drugged. 5-4. If they could have beaten me, they would have. Not just to financially sabotage me, but also to destroy my morale. 5-11. Securing my rightful position as the top martial artist is the most important thing. 5-16. Sparring shows transferable, universal, convertible, transformable, and translatable skills. I was supposed to put transformable in that when I wrote with a pen. Anyway, and translatable skills in the most common form of martial arts competition. Having done this without a coach, mentor, master, or trainer also shows that a black man has outsmarted every martial art mind from every martial art in the world in the most diverse nation on earth. And I end by saying, I will have definitively proven superior mind, body, and soul in the most respectable way. So in the absence of a Messiah in the flesh, in the absence of a prophet in the flesh, a martial artist becomes the most honored of men when he is the top. And he has gotten there by tapping into the Holy Spirit. That is the greatest manifestation of holiness or of God in the flesh during our time. And that is me. This is not just something I'm saying because I'm cocky. This is not just something I'm saying to, make bitches feel that much stupider for not fucking liking me. This is, so help me God, what I believe. I do not believe that there was anyone closer to God on the planet than I am. I do not believe that there was anyone more honorable on the planet than I am. And I do not believe that anyone has ever done what I've done. And I do not believe that if anyone tries to do it in the future, that it will be honestly done. I think it will be staged by the same lying types of groups that are covertly drugging me and sabotaging me. That is honestly, honest to God, what I believe from over 20 years of research into secret societies, martial arts, the pharmaceutical sector, the mental health oligarchs, and what have you. This is the truth. No matter what happens, so help me God, I will go to my grave believing this. This is irrefutable. This is incontrovertible in my mind. And anyone who would say otherwise is the same type of lowly, selfish, complex-having dog that does unconscionable acts in the name of Judas, in the name of betrayal for money, betrayal for social acceptance, betrayal to the status quo in favor of their philosophy, of their pats on the head and rubs behind the ears. This, in a nutshell, is the greater philosophy of Horus that is not written in the Bible as such. But if you look into the Bible, you will find that nothing in the Bible contradicts anything I have written. Nothing. Anyone who says so is a liar. And so, you will be hard-pressed to find a man more worthy of the Holy Spirit in its pure form, from the death of the last prophet, from the death, and if there have been no prophets since Jesus, from the death of the Christ onward, because it's complicated whether you would say John, for example, who wrote Revelations, is a prophet or not. It's arguing semantics, because some descriptions or definitions of prophets are someone who, God has revealed something to. So one could say, yes, John is a prophet. No, I'm not going to get into that. This is what I believe, what I truly believe. And because this is what I believe, I am a million times more outraged by how I have been treated by women. Because I don't just look at it as this guy's a handsome guy, he's a good guy, why, I'm doing the right thing, why are they treating him this way? I also see it as, I have lived up to God's expectations better than any man on the planet. So for women to shun me makes them the most despicable life form on the planet.